Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Irfan Hussain and I'm here with a new video regarding our course of TEFL and TESOL. Our today's topic is actually the continuation of our previous topic, that is language and acculturation. This is part 2. Actually this is second language acquisition and the influence of acculturation on it. Today we will discuss the process of acculturation and delimitation of acculturation model. In process there are 4 stages according to that model of acculturation and paginization that we have been studying since our last work. The first stage is euphoria, then cultural shock, then cultural stress and gradual recovery, then full recovery that has again a sub process of adaptation, assimilation or acceptance of the new culture. Let us discuss these elements one by one. First one is euphoria. The learners get excited over the newness of the surrounding. Euphoria means that a kind of exaggerated happiness. So it's very simple to understand that when we are exposed to some new culture, visit some new country, visit some new state with a new culture, we feel excited. Even with the notion that we are going somewhere new, we feel excited. That is euphoria. So when the learner is exposed to the target language culture, he feels excitement of some newness. Then culture shock. That is the next step, next stage, because there is a big difference between the cultures. I have a different culture, and if I go to some other country, definitely it will have a different culture. So when learner is exposed to the new culture, he gets shocked because of the difference of the cultures. So culture shock emerges as individuals feel the intrusion of more and more culture differences into their own images of self and security. There are a lot of things when I feel that it does not exist in my culture, but when I find it in other culture, it shocks me that how it can exist somewhere. But these are the differences that do exist, and we will talk again about that. Then culture stress and gradual recovery. I again divide this in 2 steps. One is cultural stress. The learner's problems revolve around the question of identity. She or he does not perceive herself or himself as belonging to any culture. When one starts living somewhere in some new culture, he is now in between 2 different worlds. He has carried his own culture with him, and also he has to adjust himself in the new culture. So he feels the problem, the crisis of identity. He is unable to decide whether he belongs to his previous culture or now, or whether he belongs to this new culture. This is cultural stress, because he is somewhere misfit in new culture, and somewhat he has forgotten his tried to forget his actual culture. Then the gradual recovery. Some problems of acculturation are solved while others continue for some time. The learners start to understand the differences in thinking. So when one starts living in new culture, gradually he does get that kind of adjustment, and he is acquainted and he is habitual of few things, and there are few things that he cannot understand. For example, he cannot absorb. For example, the eating habits. If someone goes to some country where the eating habits, especially if some Muslim goes to some country where there are foods that are not legitimate in Islamic culture or Islamic religion, Sharia, he will definitely carry this problem along with him. But what happens that with the passage of time, he learns to live with all these problems. And then full recovery. And that full recovery again has few steps. One is adaptation. Keep it in mind that it is not adopt, it is adaptation. That one adapts the culture step by step. Gradually he gets the spirit, the soul of the culture, and it understands the norms of the culture, and to some extent he absorbs that culture. And then there is another stage of assimilation. It is not necessary for everyone to assimilate, because assimilation means to adjust completely and some new culture. And sometimes it happens that one leaves his own culture and completely absorbs himself in the new culture. That is assimilation. But it is not necessary for everyone. You can do that assimilation and you can do without that assimilation. And then acceptance. You accept whatever there is. You don't feel any kind of frustration. You don't feel any kind of restlessness, because you accept that this is a culture, and acceptance of a new culture, a new identity is developed, and you also develop a new identity that you are here, and that depends upon yourself. What kind of identity do you develop? You are a Pakistani learner, and you establish your identity there as a Pakistani, and also you try to adjust and learn to adjust in that culture. And there can be another identity where you forget that you are Pakistani, and you totally try to completely try to adjust in new culture. That is kind of assimilation. So it's up to you which kind of identity do you develop for yourself. Then the delimitation of the model. Although some studies favor the validity of the acculturation model, like those stated above, Schumann's theory received limited empirical support and faced strong criticism. It is not accepted by everyone. There are a lot of loopholes, a lot of flaws that has been criticized by other people. For example, cultural aspects are quite often not so readily identifiable, and that individuals may succeed in SLA despite the social conditions. So that is very important. It is not necessary always to acquire the social condition of the target culture. It is still possible, as we have in our country, in our region, in our university college, a lot of people who have learned English, who are acquired English as a second language, but they had never been exposed to the target culture in a true sense. So that is why it is still possible to get that second language acquisition without exposing oneself to the target language culture. Moreover, according to Monti, there are some learners that will be determined to succeed, irrespective of any of the conditions that present themselves, and those learners that will not be successful regardless of favorable social circumstances. So it depends upon attitude. If one wants to learn, if one is determined to learn, one definitely will learn. But if someone is not very willing and keen to acquire the language, whatever you give, whatever the environment, whatever the facilitation is given to that lazy learner, definitely he will not learn or acquire anything. And during my trainings, my teachings, I have got a lot of examples. One incident I can share with you, that I was giving a training in Lahore at a platform of British Council. When there, one gentleman stood up and said that he lives in Lahore and he cannot speak English because he does not have any kind of environment. And before I could answer him, another trainee stood up, and he was from Hasilpur, one of the very backward tehsils of Pakistan. And he stood there and he totally spoke in English, and he said that he belonged to Hasilpur and he was the first time in English in his region, and if he could speak English without any kind of favorable environment, why a person who is living in Lahore or Faisalabad could not speak English? So sometimes it is a kind of lame excuse, and if one is determined, definitely one will acquire the language. Learning style is very important. What is your learning style? Learning style has no limit. As many students are there, as many learning styles may be there. We generally categorize these learning styles in few ones, but you know your learning style, and you have to adopt a complete set of habits to acquire some language. You need to change your daily routine. You need to change your all the habits and so on. So learning style is not one thing. This is all about your lifestyle. Another problem is that this pigeonization model saw things on macro level, that they talk about group to group interaction. They ignore the individual micro level, how one may feel when he is exposed to the individuals as an individual to the target language culture. So that is another aspect that should be worked upon, because paginization model and that acculturation model talked about the macro level when one group is exposed to other group. Although we have discussed individual level as well, but the model itself doesn't discuss the micro level. So this is all for today, and if you have any questions, you can ask me, you can comment, you can message, you have my email, you have my phone number, you have my WhatsApp number. You can text me anytime for any question. I will definitely respond you for that. So till the next video, stay your sweet home, stay blessed, God bless you. Thank you very much.